seconds away on Studio 5. We go inside Kari Jobe's garden tour.
I was pregnant with Canyon, my 1.5-year-old, and my sister was pregnant at the same time.
Get the story behind the award-winning album.
My album cover and everything won a Dove Award.
The worship singer talks life on the road with family.
What's it like as partners?
I love that we worked together as friends before we got married, because I think it does help.
And we sit down with her husband, Cody Carnes, to hear his debut album.
Honestly, I'm really proud of this album. I love the songs.
This special edition of Studio 5 starts now. And welcome to this special edition of Studio 5. We're going to get to everything Kari Jobe and the Garden Tour in just a moment. But first, let's get started with the countdown of the best headlines in uplifting entertainment for the week. At number 5, it's the Gaines Goodbye Tour.
I know for Joe and I, every day we showed up to work, we wanted it to be the real deal. We wanted it to be authentic, legit, sincere, and I think that's why people were drawn to it.
Chip and Joanna are ending their HGTV Fixer Upper series with a bang.
When I was doing some of the drawings in the backyard, I noticed that tree that we all thought was really cute when we looked at the house the first time.
The popular show's final season will be filled with celebrity guests, including Tim Tebow and former First Lady Laura Bush.
So a lot of people have asked what my nationality is. I'm half Korean.
This season's 18 new episodes begin November 21st. And will also include Joanna's renovation of a home for her sister's growing family. At number 4.
Every civilization was built off the back of a disposable workforce.
Worship music fans may want to listen closely to the Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack. Worship artist Lauren Daigle contributed the song Almost Human to the sci-fi epic. At last week's Dove Awards, Daigle said she contributed to the film because she couldn't escape the idea someone in the theater might not know God and are in need of His hope, His love, and the things Christians offer to the world.
I'm almost human.
And those are just the first 2 headlines in the countdown. Right now, it is time to get to Kari Jobe and the Garden Tour. The Garden album actually gave birth to that tour, and that music is what's playing in my ear.
I had all but given up, desperate for a sign from love, something good, something kind, bringing peace to every corner of my mind.
So, fresh from the Dove Awards, you got to be host this year.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was fun. I co-hosted with Tasha Cobbs, and it was fun. They make it really easy. I think they're used to artists coming right from the road, you know, so they kind of just make it.
Yeah, because you're in the middle of the garden too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sweet. It was really fun. We got to be silly, so we got to be ourselves, but also, you know, do the serious stuff like they need you to do and all that stuff.
So nominated, and you get to take home an award as well.
Yeah, I did. My album packaging, so my album cover and everything, won a Dove Award. That's the first time to win a Dove for the packaging, so it was kind of a cool thing for me.
Your album is The Garden, and this is the Garden Tour. Tell me the story behind this whole garden experience people are having with you and this music.
I can see the eye growing through.
So right when I was starting to write for this album, I didn't know yet where it was going or the theme or anything, but I was pregnant with Canyon, my 1.5-year-old, and my sister was pregnant at the same time. And right at the end of her pregnancy, she gave birth to a sleeping angel who was already with Jesus before we got to meet her. And so as you can imagine, it just shot us and like our entire family into this season of just extreme disappointment, heartache, trauma. I mean, it was a traumatic experience.
And you're still carrying your son at the time?
And I was still pregnant, exactly. So I had an incredible mentor in my life just remind me that I couldn't stay there. She's like, you have to grieve this, of course, but I'm not gonna let you stay here and shut down. Because I just was feeling really disappointed of like just navigating through, God, why didn't you answer our prayers? And why didn't you do a miracle? But honestly, he's done the most incredible miracle in reaching my sister's heart and just things my sister talks about now from that experience. So I wrote the garden song for her. It was just a prayer for her, just praying that faith would rise up in her heart again. Her daughter that's in heaven is named James Ivy. So Ivy in the song, and Ivy began to be something that just was like speaking life. I even have a sweet little tattoo in her, you know, in her honor. And so just like, God's just used Ivy a lot for our family to just remind us that he's in control. He's not forsaken us. We're not forgotten. But sometimes we just experience difficult stuff on this side of heaven, but God takes it and turns it into something beautiful every time. It takes a season, you know, sometimes a couple, but.
Was this a difficult album then to do in light of what you were going through? Was it the hard, because this is album number 5 for you?
It is, yeah. It was hard in the writing process because, you know, when you go through something difficult, I think sometimes we just want to process it by ourselves, you know, and not have to talk about it yet. You know, you're like, I don't know where I am yet with this. Like, I'm still healing, God's still doing something in my heart. But I had to be writing. It was, you know, there's just deadlines and people waiting for what I needed to be turning in. And so I just was like, I'm just gonna, every writing session I had, I was like, this is where I am, this is what God's doing, let's just write from this. So in that regard, it was sweet because I just was able to be myself. I wasn't trying to conjure up feeling a different way. We just really dove into what was happening. But I realized that people needed that, you know? And it's been so incredible, the people that are even coming to these nights on this tour. There's so many stories that they're bringing up in the Q&A or in different things, like just saying, this album, I needed this because we lost a child too, or I've walked through things with God that I haven't understood before and you have helped me to just worship through it, or, you know, just have moments of honesty with God instead of hiding it, you know. He knows what we're thinking anyway, so. It was a hard album to write, but it also brought a lot of healing at the same time.
I can see that.
So.
I'm married with 2 children, but we lost 2 children in between. So I certainly identify, and as a husband, I always say that was the worst possible time for me as a man trying to minister to a wife who I couldn't explain. Exactly.
It is hard, and what was helpful with this project too is when you're going through something difficult, Christianese does not help. You know, even somebody saying, God's gonna use this, I'm like, that doesn't comfort, you know? But what does comfort is crying with them or just saying, I'm just here with you. But on the flip side, now I know why people were saying God's gonna use this and God's gonna return this for beauty, because he does, you know? And so it just takes sometimes just like encouraging people. And so I think music does that. It's disarming, but it can be in your face. And I think this album just has an anointing behind it for breakthrough in that area, because we really encountered God's presence really helping us in this season. I think it's doing that now for other people.
Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, and to know the same, the Lord.
And we're going to continue our conversation with Kari Jobe in just a moment. We're going to talk marriage, family, motherhood, and music. And welcome back to Studio 5. Let's jump right back into the countdown of the best headlines and uplifting entertainment news for this week.
At number 3.
Yeah, I'm coming. Keep your pants on. I mean, what do they pay the doorman around here for anyway? Okay, yeah, come on in, come on.
You're drunk?
Husband and wife Kevin and Sam Sorbo star in the new film, Let There Be Light.
I had the idea for this film, like the world's greatest atheist has a near-death experience that challenges his whole worldview.
Sam co-wrote the screenplay. She and Kevin partnered with Fox News' Sean Hannity to produce the film.
All I wanted to do was just, I wanted to put my arms around him. I don't know what to do with it.
Let There Be Light is in American theaters Friday, October 27th. At number 2.
Ma, you still there? Ma! My dear! My dear!
Tyler Perry's Boo 2 scares up a first-place $21.7 million in its opening weekend at the box office. With that success, Studio 5 has the scoop on what's next for the media mogul. He'll play the role of Secretary of State Colin Powell in a yet-to-be-titled film about former Vice President Dick Cheney.
You are going to be playing Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, first of all, I'm a character actor, and I think that I have a side of me that has some thirst for the dramatic chops, and I'm a huge fan of his.
And that leaves only one more headline in this week's countdown. As promised, we're going to get back to our conversation with Kari Jobe, and this time we're getting personal. Take a look.
I am always amazed at your voice. I've seen you perform live and sing and minister, and I always look, and I'm usually sitting high up, so I'm looking down, I was like, how is all that voice coming out of that tiny little person? When did you know? I mean, because the voice seems so much bigger than you even now. When did you know that you had a voice?
I started singing when I was 3,
really?
Honestly, and I grew up in a musical family, so we were always singing, always traveling, and doing church ministry stuff, so I just loved it. I fell in love with, when I was 13, I got to be a part of the youth worship band, and I was just counting down the days. I just was so ready to be a part of the team, and I just always loved worship. So when I was 18 and I had to kind of make a decision, what am I gonna do in college? What's God calling me to? I really felt like I wanna just dive into this worship thing and just see what God's doing. And so he's continuously opened doors, and I just kept walking through them. And yeah, I think I just never realized all that it was gonna look like, you know? I had no clue, which is probably good, because I think I'd have been like, no thank you, that's too much.
So is the worship experience for you different now as a mom and as a wife?
Yeah.
And as all the, you know, living in Nashville as opposed to Texas, I mean.
Right. Yes, D, all of the above. It's, everything's really changed. What's really beautiful though is I feel like it's caused me to just slow down, even though it's gotten like maybe more chaotic and busy. I feel like the Lord's really just helped me just slow down and be fully present in everything we're doing. You know, when I'm on the bus during the day, I'm being mom. You know, I'm not thinking about tonight or anything. I'm just being mommy, and I wait to the last second to get ready because I just want to hang out. But yeah, it's been really amazing too, though. Just Cody stepping into more of his calling, doing his music. It's really fun, you know. Keeps never a dull moment though, for sure.
You guys were friends for a very long time, and not even looking at each other as possible mates.
Yeah, we just became really good friends. There's an age gap too, which we just kind of thought was like, it probably would never work out. And God had other plans, which is awesome.
What's it like writing with your husband and working together now? I mean, you work together as friends. What's it like as partners?
I love that we worked together as friends before we got married, because I think it does help. You know, I still look back and just get kind of teary-eyed, because we'd sit at coffee tables and, you know, just as friends, hanging out, talking about what God's doing in each of our lives back then, to be doing it together now. Even last night, we had a really long conversation about some things that were just, I felt like it was warfare. I felt like it was just the enemy trying to come in and discourage both of us in our calling. And we're very candid. We are always very truthful and honest, and we can be. And I think sometimes in marriage that can be difficult because you don't want to offend your spouse, but there's that friendship there, so we love it. I think it's beautiful. I think God really knew we both needed that in our lives, so we love it. We love working together. We love writing together. I love that I can just ask him to play, and I can just sit there for a long amount of time and just work on a song, and he just knows me. He knows that I just need him to not talk, and he's okay with that, you know? So it's good.
It's a lesson for many men, I'm sure.
It is. He's amazing.
Your son, Canyon, only 1.5 right now.
Yeah.
You sing music in there?
We do. He can keep a pitch, which is amazing. He's only 1.5 years, but he'll like match pitches. And then like if he's acting like he's dancing or something or snapping, he does it on beat to songs.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
What's next for you after this tour?
After this tour, we're gonna just take a big rest. Thankfully, it kind of lands into the season of the holidays, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, so it'll be good. And then we're doing Winter Jam, which will be really fun, really busy. I think we'll be back here on Winter Jam in a few months, so it'll be good.
We'll be looking for you.
Yeah.
And still to come, here on this special edition of Studio 5, we're sitting down with Carrie Jobe's best friend, her music partner, and her life partner. Her husband, Cody Carnes, is coming up next. And welcome back to Studio 5. Right now, it's time for the #1 headline for this week's countdown of the best in uplifting entertainment news.
At #1.
David Hill.
Yes. You're under arrest. For what?
Contempt of court. You failed to produce your sermons upon court order.
This cliffhanger arrest left God's Not Dead to audiences with questions. The answers are coming. And Studio 5 is on the set in Little Rock to bring you the very first images from the ongoing production of God's Not Dead, A Light in Darkness. We can't reveal the storyline, but we can report the cast includes the return of Shane Harper and new faces like John Corbett, Ted McGinley, Cissy Houston, and Tatum O'Neal.
Sorry about this, Pastor.
It's okay. Looks like I'm going to need you to fill in for me a little while longer.
The God's Not Dead story continues in theaters March 30th, 2018.
That wraps the countdown and brings us to our next guest. Cody Carnes is married to Kari Jobe. He's her writing partner, but he's also a music man himself, and that's why he is this week's One to Watch.
The cross has the final word. The cross has the final word. Evil may put up its strongest fight, but the cross has the final word.
I'd like to begin talking about your debut album, The Darker the Night, The Brighter the Morning.
Yes, a long time. I'm impressed when somebody can say it right. Yeah.
First, that title, what was it about? What's happening, what we're hearing?
Yes, so that title, it comes from a song on the record called Hold It All, which says, you hold it all, the darker the night, the brighter. John 1 tells us that light has already overcome the dark and the darkness cannot extinguish it. So the truth is that what Jesus did at the cross, it silenced and overcame darkness once and for all. And you know, we're living in a world, in a time right now where day to day, it can seem like darkness is winning. It can seem like evil is rising up. It can seem like things are getting out of control. And but the truth is that it's already lost. And it was also personal for me and personal for Carrie as well. Her album, The Garden, came out of this time of just a lot of devastation in our family. And so I was writing this album around that same time. And so I just learned the importance of worship in those scenarios. I learned the importance of worship in something hard and actually declaring the faithfulness of God. You see the faithfulness of God when you speak it and when you declare it. So that's what this album is. It's just a declaration of faith and saying, God, I trust you no matter what it looks like. And you know, we've seen God work some amazing miracles in our family and our lives. And man, he's really turned ashes into beauty in some amazing ways. And so it was just kind of also like a testimony of our lives and what we've seen God do. And you know, I've seen you be faithful every time, God, so this won't be any different.
My favorite song is The Cross Has the Final Say. What's your favorite on it?
You know, honestly, I'm really proud of this album. I love the songs live. I mean, I love What Freedom Feels Like is a fun one. It's really great. Resurrection Blood is really fun live. Till the End of Time is fun. Carrie's on that one. And I really am proud of it. I really love all the songs, honestly. So,
in light of the fact that there's a garden at your house that seems to have given birth to some great music, can you please tell me about that garden?
Well, it was funny. We bought our house in December, so we really had no idea that there was a garden back there because everything was dead. In April, Carrie comes down one day and she's in the middle of writing for her album, and she walks down one day and it literally felt like the garden in our backyard had bloomed overnight. And it was almost just like when you stepped out into that garden, it was like God was speaking, like, I've gone before you. And it was like you could just feel the presence of God in that place. And so that's really what the garden song came from. We were writing at our house with a couple friends, and God will speak in all kinds of ways if you listen. You know, sometimes I miss it. But yeah, God really spoke through that.
You've been singing for as long as you have, but this is your debut album?
Yeah, it is.
What took so long?
You know, I took a left turn in life because I moved to Arizona to plant a church. It really didn't make any sense to me because I was like, God, I'm about to start this whole music career. I'm about to do this thing. It's all working. And God said, no, I want you to go do this. And I was at that church plant for 3 years. God really did some things in my heart and my character in that season. And I feel thankful for that, because I think if I would have jumped into it before God's timing, I think it would have been too much, or I think I would have maybe not made the album that I should have made, or maybe would have jumped into a deal that wasn't right. Because I waited, everything I've stepped into has just been so effortless, so easy. The doors have just been open. I've just been walking through what God is putting before me, and everything's happened like that. And it just really taught me that I don't ever have to make way for myself. I can just always trust God that He's doing things, He's working things out, and I just have to be faithful and diligent to walk through what He puts in front of me. But that was just the way it worked out.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And Cody's debut project is available wherever music is sold. Still ahead on Studio 5, Kari Jobe gives a final word for young people trying to navigate through life.
I get this question a lot, which I think is really sweet.
And welcome back to Studio 5. Time now to look ahead to what we're working on for you next week.
Some say it's too hard to forgive. I say it's too hard not to.
One half of the Mary Mary duo is sharing new music.
Where did that song come from?
Tina Campbell makes a stop in Studio 5 on her It's Still Personal tour.
And maybe you feel you'll end up with another broken heart.
And certainly hope you will join us for that story next week and so much more. As for the final word for this edition of Studio 5, we're going to give that to Kari Jobe, the woman we started with. She's got a beautiful word about you finding your purpose and living it out.
I just think there's something really beautiful about local church and worshiping with like-minded people, and knowing who you're leading, and knowing the sacrifice of praise in the room of people that you're worshiping with, instead of always being gone and it being people you don't have any clue what is going on in their lives, and having pastors that speak into my life, all of that. So I would just tell them, get involved in your local church and serve wherever God opens a door. Because I just would much rather God open the door than me try to knock this door down and then in my own strength have to keep it open. Because there's many times where I'm like, God, are you sure about this? And I'm like, well, you did this and you've opened the door for this, so you're going to give me the grace to sustain what you've called me to.
That's a great word and the final word for this edition of Studio 5. Until next time, reach out and touch me at From Graham on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. And then be sure to come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.